flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Play ball. We were playing little league here in Belleville. Play ball. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody at home. Good evening to the news media here.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments? Olga?
Not on the agenda.
Ma'am, do you have any? Olga, you say it's not on the agenda, but is there something you would like to bring up? I'm not going to make you wait for the whole meeting. Oh, yeah, you can most of it. Yes, stand up, identify yourself.
Olga Anderson, Village of Highland Falls. I saw in the paper that there was some analysis had been done on the LED lighting, and I'm just not clear if there's been final decisions made about whether to go ahead with that or not.
Richie, do you have anything on that?
So Bill
think you were the one
spearheaded that, and he did a good job. And I'll tell you, with the sewer matters, I've been a little bit taken away from it. During the summertime, I went to a seminar here, which had a program sponsored by New York Power Authority, where you could get grant money, and you had to sign up by July 31st. And the only two municipalities that had signed up in the whole area were big, was Rhinebeck, town of Rhinebeck, and the city of Kingston. And in doing so, the way it was explained is if you would take possession of the lights and you would get a little help from them, but you would have to buy your own bucket truck and you would have to have an electrician, not just anybody, working on those things if you took possession. So being I attended that seminar in early July, it was too late to sign up by the 31st, but what I did do is there's a gentleman named David Rose we get the emails from. I think he works for a firm where he'll try and get you reimbursed if you've been rifted, but he gets a cut. And we get an email from him once in a while. We had 9 lights I think you discovered were out. So I took the 167 lights that we have and I made a map of them. And there's 7 different kinds, and that's quite frankly as far as I've gotten. We're trying to get money back for the 9 that were burned out. But as far as taking ownership of 167 lights with like 2 weeks to decide, there just wasn't enough time to do that. And that's as much as I know about it. You probably know more than me.
Well, not really. I just know that there's other programs, including NYSERDA's and the Clean Energy Community Business that has already been started by the town. So there's other avenues to pursue, and I hope we haven't, given up on really analyzing the financial benefits of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have the minutes of the 26th of November. Anyone care to approve?
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Communications. I received a letter from a resident on Mine Dock Road questioning our water billing and question on our water meters and sewer. I just noted that I received this letter. This person lives on 23 Mine Dock Road. His name is not necessary, but I will be taking care of that personally. I received a certified letter, and the main reason I'm even reading it, I'll hand it off to Justin, but it's something about the new New York Broadband Program Phase 3 Use Network Systems, LLC projects. I don't know nothing about it. I've never heard of it. I don't know what it is. So anyway, it has something to do with radio systems, I think, but yeah, well, broadband obviously is radio systems. Chief, have you heard anything on this thing? And with the county talking about radios and stuff like that, I just wondered if it was part of it, but there is a public hearing in Marlborough, I think it is. Yes, in Marlborough Town Hall, this Friday. They give you a lot of warning, this Friday. I got this today, so, I'll give it to you, Justin.
Okay, I'll review
See if
that.
there's anything we should worry ourselves about.
Absolutely.
Communications again. I think I circulated the letter that we sent to DEC, telling them what we would like to do to keep in compliance with them. Have we heard anything back, Justin? I haven't. And the letter was signed by me. And I haven't.
No, I was not contacted in the last few days.
Okay, have you put out an RFP or anything like that?
No,
You got a cutoff
are we
date
jumping
of the
ahead
14th.
on the, jumping ahead on the agenda?
Well, just this letter, just this letter, that's it. Then we'll go to the other stuff.
On the RFP issue?
Well, it says here, that you're gonna put an RFP circulated by Friday, 12/14. So if it isn't out yet, then we're kind of.
Right. No, so in my conversations with the engineer at DEC, he had to have the written request, which you've provided.
Okay.
And then they would make a determination as to whether they were going to allow for that process, because he was concerned that in potentially changing engineers, it would delay the process. Again, he was concerned about that, not because what you're asking is illegitimate or inappropriate, but simply, again, if the board recalls, the initial notices didn't get to
Right.
town hall.
Right.
Right, so in the DEC mind, everything was already behind schedule, right? So
You were.
particular engineer is an engineer in training, right? So he works with some people up above him, and so he didn't want to verbally grant anything to the town. He was going to take it to his team when he got the request.
In the letter, it says we're suggesting the final schedule.
Absolutely.
So obviously, they can and probably will change it.
Right.
But we can't go ahead with that anyway until they approve it, correct?
Correct, because, but, right, I mean, I suppose we could, but it would be a waste. Oh, well, with the RFP or with any
With
work?
the RFP, which could result in a
Right,
change.
Right, because we're going to waste right? If there's no chance any of these other engineers can potentially do the work, it's a little unfair to ask them to spend the next 4 weeks giving us a report,
Okay, thank you.
right?
Communications also, just to have it entered into the minutes, I received a fax from Joe Baumgardner, who is the attorney for the town's PBA. I handed over the fax to our attorney, and our attorney is handling it. I try to keep some of these things vague, not because I'm hiding anything, but I feel as though, like the person on Mine Dock Road, he's talking to me by mail, and I'm talking back to him. If anybody wants to know what we're talking about, I have no problem talking one-on-one with somebody, but I don't have to announce it to the community. So I feel that that's fair to anyone who would like to. Oh, I'm going to go into this right now. I'm going off schedule again. If anybody would like to talk to any member of this board up here, in particular about problems with the building department. At the last village board meeting, he was put under the bus by the mayor, who said that every member of the village board has spoken to the town board. Well, they may have individually, but they most certainly did not talk and come to a meeting, okay?
By the way, for the record, that's the first I heard of it, so.
Okay. Now, my problem is, people have talked to me, but they don't come out with specifics. You need specifics. You can't tell Ty or Rich or whatever have you, he's holding up that project across the street. That's why they haven't opened up yet. Well, I need specifically, how is he holding up the project across the street? I don't want to hear that your mother's aunt said that he's screwing around with them and he's not being nice to them or not fair to them. I need to know specifically who said what and what the problem is. And I'm not getting it. I don't know if you guys are. But at the village board meeting, when they have people come for public comment, and in particular this last meeting was a complete bashing of the building department. And it was wrong, because no one said anything specifically what he was doing wrong. If you want to find out specifically what's going on, his door is open. He's there most of the time unless he's out on an inspection. Actually, I did go and ask him about a particular project in town, and he has all the right in the world to be holding up the project, because the project from the, the architect to the construction company, back to the architect, back to the construction company, who's still not doing what they were told to do by their architect. It's just things like that we need to know. Don't bash the man unless you can tell him, or me, or you, or what have you, exactly what the problem is. If you don't know the problem, you shouldn't say he's holding things up. Any comments on what I just said?
He's very respectful to me. I have had some people approach me and say that they're a little bit concerned that things don't move as fast as they want to. And I too won't use anybody's names. There's a particular person that wanted to build something that required a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and it required a public hearing from the Planning Board. So from the beginning, I told that person, as well as Bruce, because he asked me for my advice on stuff, because he knows I was on those boards. I'm not a building inspector, but I do a lot about planning and zoning. And I said, at best, to go before the zoning board and then have a public hearing, and then go before the planning board to have a public hearing and get approval. If you accomplish that in 5 months, you're aces. And that was done for this particular case. So due process was served. And when I see Bruce with all these violations, which consume a lot of time, they have letters this thick, and they have to mail them. Did somebody receive them? If they didn't, they have to go through it again. That takes time, and I've told them, like with the Pointers Echo Hotel, that the very moment that the village or whoever asks to do something, to be prepared, whatever it is he has to do, to have someone to come cut the grass, to fix the windows, board them up, all that stuff. I just tell him, don't waffle. Be prepared to act. And from what I can see, I think he respects what I ask him to do with as much authority as I have. And I have had people come to me and say they think the village of Highland Falls has never looked better. Maybe that's in part because of all these violations that have been adjudicated. I don't know.
Just one more comment. There's a project that he's holding up that doesn't have a building permit. So, how do you answer that? He's holding them up and they don't have a building permit. Yeah, anybody else got something?
I'm aware of some of the situations, and you are 100% correct, Bob. There's a process that has to be followed, and if the project doesn't follow the process, it will not go forward. Mm-hmm. And that's not the fault of the building inspector or the building department. There are things that the applicant has to provide before he can go forward. And I think Bruce is right. We want things to be done properly and safely, and he should keep doing what he's doing. That's all.
June, anything?
Yeah, I agree. He's thorough, and that's not always appreciated by someone that's looking for an exception or to move more quickly. But as long as we're following the rules, and the community will be a better place to live.
Mm-hmm. And I would be misrepresenting myself, 10 years ago, whatever it was, when Corbin Hill started doing things, there was a massive movement in town to move toward a new master plan, and I was a part of that, as well as Bill and a bunch of other people. Some of that may have been just a little bit candy-coated. I'll say that as politely as I can. I don't think there's ever going to be a rotary at the bottom of Canterbury Hill with a monument there. It would be really nice if that could happen. So the master plan made some changes in our zoning code, and that's what we have. And that was driven by public, I won't say anger, but, you know, assertiveness 10 years ago, and that's what we have, and that's what he acts upon. If we need to act upon something different, we'll have to make a movement to do something different.
Hi, Evan.
Well, the fact is that I've worked with him on several occasions now, and as the colleagues here have said, been very responsive and respectful. So if the community has some issues that they're not able to move forward, then by all means, they could talk to us to try to see if we can help assist in that manner. But otherwise, he's doing what he gets paid to do, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. Okay. I got that off my chest anyway. It needed to be said. December the 6th, we paid out $65,724. The big items were $3,707 for streetlights. State Controller, court fines and fees, $33,502. Rockland County Solid Waste, $11,393. And that's it on the paid outs. MJ, do you want my copy here since it's not on the minutes?
Sure. Thank you.
We have some budget transfers that I need to make. I'll do them all off of one sheet. There's not that many of them. It was in your box today. Dial-a-bus part-time drivers to Dial-a-bus town matching share, $138.33. And that was meant to pay the final quarter to the county. All the rest are ambulance, personal services for ambulance fuel, ambulance billing, ALS intercept, ambulance equipment, and ambulance vehicle repair. That was $2,000 for fuel, $3,500 for billing, ALS intercept $2,700, equipment $140, and vehicle repair $1,000. I have a motion to accept the budget transfers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We should make a note of this, so next time we work on the budget, we address these particular items and maybe make sure there's enough in those lines,
Oh, okay.
rather than having to be transferred.
Okay. All right. Rich, you have anything for us?
Just maybe a note to people to be cautious going over 9W. They've been doing a lot of work on the highway, and Frank, you're probably more aware of it than I am. I'm glad to see them doing it before the real cold weather comes, but you have to be careful. They put signs down at the bottom of the hill, and it says the lane's going to be closed, and you have to go just about over the mountain before you find where it is closed. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. June?
The Emergency Management Committee is having their closeout meeting, or their final meeting for the year, Wednesday night at 6:30. The Planning Board's next meeting will be on the 20th. I think that's a week from Thursday. That'll be their final meeting for the year. And of course, it's my pleasure to brag about the Town of Highlands Police Department, which I do often. But they're a great group of men and women. They serve us well, and they have the best chief ever.
Boy, you trying to embarrass the guy or what? That it, Jim?
That's it.
Okay, Ty?
Not a whole lot. Just want to tell the community that we still, in terms of the senior citizen coordinator responsibilities, that will be assumed by the center. We're still working through those issues with the recreation director. There should be a meeting this week to finalize some of those requirements, and then there'll be more to announce in the next meeting in the new year. So we have not forgotten about our seniors, of course, and we want to ensure everyone that there will be more programs and more opportunities to get the seniors involved in things around here. Secondly, I wanted to say I met, on the side note, one of the folks who I had previously worked with at West Point had retired and moved into the community here, and I was just happy to find out that he became a member of the fire department. And so that was just great to know that folks are staying in the area and decide to continue to serve in other capacities like emergency management. So I just want to share that, and good, great job to all of our fire department and ambulance and others, and police, of course.
And they always have open positions if you're looking to join.
Okay, I'm still thinking about that.
Before we go to Rich and Justin, Chief, do you have anything for us?
Just 3 quick things.
Yeah.
I just wanted to report that Officer Lennox is starting tonight. He's starting his field training, and I think he has about 9 shifts of FTO, then he'll be ready to go for January. Officer Sestero will be coming off field training. Tomorrow's his last shift, and he'll be in solo patrol. And Officer Salmon completes his probation on December 20th, and I would recommend, with the board's approval, that he passes probation. He's been a very good asset. That's all I have. Thank you, though.
If Officer Cicero, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Sestero.
If he made it through his first shift during a snowstorm on Storm King Mountain.
Came back.
He should be staying for.
I don't know how excited he was, but he came back.
Chief, before you sit
Yes,
down, I'll ask for a motion to move on. Officer Salmon, his probationary period ends on the 12th month, 20th day. I need a motion to approve him going off of probation.
I make a
Motion.
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. And also, I have a request that Patrol Officer Philip Gavigan, he's requested a 6-month leave of absence due to medical issues. He initially wanted a year. We amended it to 6-month increments. And Chief, I understand you approve of this.
Yes, sir.
So based on the chief's approval, I'll make a motion that we grant him the 6 months leave of absence for medical
Second.
reasons.
Second.
Seconded by Richie, all in favor?
Aye.
Good. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Did the town of New Windsor get through stuff like that that quick? Okay.
I was a little farther down the chain. I went to one a couple weeks ago, but that was about it.
Oh, okay, just checking. Because needless to say, I'm very pleased the way this board works. It just works and gets things done. Okay, Rich, between you and Justin,
Before
talk to us
Justin
dirty.
tries to bails me out of looking like a fool, I'm gonna tell you about the ZBA, which meets on the 3rd Wednesday of every month. Today was their final day for an application. Jack Janron hadn't received one yet, so I can't say they're not gonna meet, but if they do, it would be on the 19th. And for those out there in public land wondering why there's all these boards, if you have zoning, you have to have a zoning board of appeals. It's an opportunity, if you come to an impasse somewhere in the process, to get an appeals. I think that they're a great bunch of guys. There's 5 senior members of the community on it, and they do a pretty good job. And so I don't think they're meeting this Wednesday. Off topic, out of the 23 elected positions in this town, including the county legislator, 5 of them are the Fort Montgomery Fire District, which I'm gonna go ahead and annoy a few people. By far, the best body of government in this whole area. Every year in the state of New York, on Tuesday, or on the second Tuesday in December, between the hours of 6 and 9 p.m., the districts of the state of New York elect a fire commissioner. So tomorrow, that'll happen at the Fort Montgomery Firehouse. You would have to live outside the village to be eligible and be on the voter rolls. And on to the building department. The report for the month of November. There were 9 permit applications were received, 5 were issued, 5 operating permits were issued, 6 certificate of occupancies were issued, 23 building permit inspections, 19 fire safety inspections, 27 advisory notices. That's down a lot from 91, which is what it was over the summer 1 month. 7 municipal searches, 3 FOIL requests, and 39 total number of physical inspections for the month of November. And now with the sewer, I'm not quite sure what I did send everybody late today an email with the chronology of everything I've had to do, the emails I've gotten and whatnot, and I highlighted the ones related to the EFC project and to the dechlorination project. Which one would you like to talk about first? And I'll bring Justin in to help me.
Whatever.
So-
In other words, I want the town board and the general public to just have a basic knowledge of where we're at and what's going on, because they've been hearing about this big project for 4 years now, and we're still not breaking breaking ground.
So something I don't do is look in the rearview mirror. Whatever happened over the last 4 years happened, and I'll lead up to my phone call with Al Fusco the day before Thanksgiving. On February 23rd, I got an email for the first time from, is his name Harry Nielsen, who's basically our EFC person, if I'm not mistaken.
Nelson.
Nelson, okay. That they had given us their first disbursement, and I think Fusco got a payment out of that. Don't know what it was. On April the 3rd, Harry Nielsen sent a letter to Bob, and you copied it to us, with 24 comments on problems with that set of plans. I'm going to be a little bit mean here. I came to the meeting in December before I took my oath, and the engineer, Mr. Fusco, said he'd be able to deliver it sometime in January. So whatever went wrong, we're now into April, and now we have 23 or 24 problems that had to be addressed. All right. Going on June the 22nd, Mr. Fusco had a response to Mr. Nielsen that he copied us on, and he uses a firm, and it's a little bit tough with their billing because he uses them for both the EFC project, which is the $2.8 million project, and for the separate distinct project, which I'll lead into, which is the dechlorination problem, GHD. And their person seems to be a guy named Kevin Castro, something like
yep.
that. All right. On June the 29th was the first email that I saw from Joe Fung. I'm not sure how you say his first name.
He goes by Joe.
Okay, and so we'll just call him Joe. And in that were 5 problems, including saying that there was a violation that had not been addressed from February of 2017 for failure to meet dechlorination needs that go from April until November of every year. So the plant didn't require that in the beginning. That's something new. However, that happened. And in there is a bold print that we can be fined $37,500 a day. On July the 3rd, Mr. Fusco was approached to deal with this matter on our behalf via email. Going on August the 8th, I got an email personally from Joe that there was going to be a technical meeting that we would have to go to. That technical meeting happened on September the 4th. I went down with Pat Patterson. Mr. Fusco went, and a gentleman named John Nosek, I think that's his first name, his last name is Nosek. Very, very knowledgeable person. We went down to White Plains and did our thing for a couple hours. They meant business at that meeting. The very next day, Mr. Nosek went down to the plant, helped out Bob Held with a few suggestions. And after that, Mr. Fusco gave us a presentation where he would address immediately to keep them off our back, and then a plausible set of solutions, each of which had a monetary amount attached to it. But the third thing was to actually design and build whatever it is we're going to do for the dechlorination, not the grant project, the dechlorination. We were a little bit concerned about that, so I think it was on September the 18th, Justin, June, and I went to his office, and we had a pretty intense discussion. Most of all, we were pretty affirmative about how when he bills, we want it to be separate and distinct. Sometimes it's easy to mix all this stuff up. And then on October the 3rd, Mr. Fusco's secretary, Carol Minow, so now we're on to October now. Remember I said we started in December of a year ago. So Carol, his secretary, sent us a thing. This is back to the EFC grant project now. that there would be an additional amount of money and it would come out of the grant. They keep on saying, don't worry about it, come out of the grant, but it still adds up, for a fine bubble diffuser. What little I know about it, it's an activated sludge plant. So basically, you're taking these organisms and you're feeding them well so they get so fat they can't swim anymore, they settle out, and you need air to do that. And these fine bubble diffusers are related to, and Olga will appreciate this, saving energy. The trouble is that Mr. Nosek told us that in using them, it actually increases the amount of energy you might need, and that plant may not have the capacity to do so. So that process, the DEC required what they want to call an active life projection. I'm not quite sure what that means, which is a pretty good amount of money. It took some time, and it's still not completely done, because I think they were looking from June Patterson for old reports on what it was costing for electricity down there, which they did get. So the last I know, I don't think that's quite done yet, except for an engineer stamp and a fine bubble diffuser. That's for the grant project. And for the dechlorination, we didn't decide upon Mr. Fusco actually taking that project through. We did the RFPs, and I'll go to Justin on that. I hope I didn't confuse everybody too much.
No, I thought it was excellent. I mean, I know a smattering of everything that's going on, so, but if anybody in the town board has any questions, ask them now or forever keep your peace. All right, Justin.
Excellent report, Richie. I gave my comments on the dechlorination issue earlier in the meeting, right? So in essence, where we are in that part of the process is waiting on a determination by the DEC as to whether we can continue with an RFP process or if we need to continue with our existing engineers who have prepared, right? And Richie mentioned the meeting he went to on September 4th. Mm-hmm. At that meeting, there was an 8-day timeline, a 30-day timeline, and then fix the problem timeline. We complied with the 8-day timeline and the 30-day timeline, and now they're interested in our long-term solution. So as soon as we hear back from them, we'll know the path we're on. With respect to the EFC project, again, Richie sort of painted it nicely. On December 3rd was correspondence from Al Fusco's office to the EFC, to Harry Nelson on the fine, I always say it wrong, fine bubble diffuser issue. And Harry's response was quick, and it was, everything looks good. I need the plans certified by your engineer. Al wrote back and indicated they would obviously immediately certify the plans. I didn't see that correspondence, but I assume it happened. But I'll follow up with EFC to make sure that they have what they need. We are waiting then for EFC to give their blessing in writing or their approval so that we can start the bid process. As a reminder, and some time ago, this board instructed me to write Al Fusco on the issues. Even the bid process is a little longer here based on the nature of the loan funding. It's a federal program that gets funneled through the state agency. So there's one additional review that takes place by a federal agency. But nevertheless, the benchmark we're looking for to know that we're close is the EFC approval letter. And I would anticipate, honestly, having that very shortly. It's again going to necessitate some extension of the timeframes. The last timeframes we were talking about was substantial completion in May of 2019, and obviously it's December of 2018, and there's an approximate year construction schedule. So that's I guess a physical impossibility. But EFC is aware, and we are as close as we've ever been in that regard. Those are my only
Okay, no, that's fine.
clarifications.
I just, like I said, I wanted to bring everybody up to snuff.
Yeah.
And
And I'm not going to burden everybody with all the many, many little problems we've had over the year, but in regard to these blowers and fine bubble diffusers, A lot of the parts down at the plant are original. We had just in the last 2 weeks an electric motor go bad. You probably got the email for the bill from the electrician to put that in. But the blower that goes along with it, they tried to use one that was sitting down there that they thought was rebuilt, and it didn't work out. So you probably saw the email, he had to order another one. We have 3 blowers, there's 1 standby. He's gonna have to replace it. I'm not sure if all 3 of these are part of this EFC grant project. I don't really know. We can't wait. We have to have the blower and repair it. And so he was addressing that today.
Okay. I'm kind of glad that Justin and others dragged me through the water project down in Fort Montgomery, because I think I derived some patience with dealing with government during that process. That's why I'm not exactly going crazy and blowing off a bunch of steam, but we're getting close to all of us blowing off a little steam. But the water project was, what, 10 years altogether.
Yeah, longer than 10 years, really.
Yeah, so anyway, I just thought...
The only other cute little comment I'll add is I remember when the plant was built, the contractor that installed the sewers is somebody who I'd worked for in the past. Not the plant, the sewer system itself. The plant was a separate contract. At that time, during the Reagan administration, was the Clean Water Act. So I believe it was 80% of your project was funded by the government at a very low interest loan. I'm not quite sure how well that worked. So we're still this cute little district, not a whole town, not a whole village, a cute little district paying for it of about 350 people, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there. So here we are 35 years later, and we still only have 7% of our land, and it's very difficult without additional money from the government as time goes on to keep the boat afloat. It hasn't been neglected, but it's been corroding and sitting there doing its thing. It needs some TLC, and it needs it now. And I wish there were another federal program to give these places a hit that got it 30 years ago. That's my observation.
And I agree 100% with you. A lot of the arguing I do with trying to save money in the sewer district is exactly what you're saying. I mean, you can only hit the general public so much, and then you're going our unpaid sewer bills mount up, and they get put on the taxes and stuff like that. We just, and I think we do the best we can for the public, but if a blower pump goes, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be done. But alternate means of getting money, we're doing the best we can trying to find the grants and whatever there is. I get a report from the state almost every other email on different grants. Some of them are just ridiculous, but anyway, okay. We have, let's see, the town board received within just a day or two, I forget when you mailed it out, the revisions, preliminary revisions to the employee handbook. Dawn, right?
Amber.
Amber. Okay. Amber has been working on it, and we asked at our last meeting that we get moving on it. So I would like to, hopefully the first meeting in January, if not that, then the following meeting, to get approval on it. So what I need the board to do is to go over it, find what mistakes you want to find, and whatever have you. But I'd like you to let the rest of the board know what you're saying, and also get a copy to Justin, some sort of an email, because it's coming out of his office, and just give him kind of a warning.
Justin, is that complete? Is the draft with the suggestions complete?
Yeah, so the entirety of the handbook's been reviewed and updated.
Okay.
There are a few end-door situations that we didn't necessarily want to make the decision on, but...
And I see there are a few questions.
Correct, and so there's a little bit of information. There's honestly, and we're happy to come down and have a meeting with 2 of you, 5 of you, however you'd like to structure it, but just to run through some of those issues, and a copy was sent to the controller's office as well, since they often are implementing some of the policies. So we're happy to do that, but I do think the time frame's realistic. Of course, that's easy for me to say because I've read it and now it's your turn. But you know, it's a lengthy document. It gets repetitive and a little frustrating if you're doing it all in one sitting, but that time frame works.
So the first meeting of January, if we have any problems that need discussion, we can do it and approve it the following meeting, or we can approve it in January if there's not that much.
Correct,
that we need
right?
to
If you all
discuss.
get through it and give us your email comments, we can clean
That's
it
the
up.
perfect time to start. First
Yep.
meeting of January, reorg meeting, et cetera. Okay, so the town board's got their homework to do. The multi-jurisdictional plan. Justin, how did you change the resolution? And what does it say?
Sure.
Because I got it this evening.
Yeah, no problem. So the county has a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. The town has been part of that process and has a specific sort of section of the plan related to the town of Highlands. And the county has been going through an update process. At the same time, I think June might have been involved, but the last time that the town board did a hazard mitigation plan more specific to the town, but the length of that sort of expired while you're also part of the county plan. So they've asked you to adopt by resolution the update to the county plan so that you are fully involved in the process. They worked with not their engineers, but an engineer that they selected for this process, Barton and Logidis, very good municipal engineers. And so this resolution simply indicates that you've reviewed the plan, which I have because I got it in many pieces today.
So you received all this that I
did.
sent you?
I got
Okay.
a lot of emails today with lots of different parts of the plan. And the updates are not ultimately terribly significant to Highlands specifically. They're more general in nature for the entirety of the county, and they make sense. They're not asking you or obligating you to do anything that you haven't been participating in for the last several years. It's prudent. It does also benefits the county, obviously, when they have participation by the municipalities and when they are seeking grant funding, that they have plans of this nature in place. Helps you in certain types of grant applications as well, that the agencies know that you have plans for crisis in place. So this is simply an adoption of the Orange County multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update.
Okay.
If someone makes that
And just
motion.
so everyone knows, we would have had to do this and pay for it ourselves. But when the county did it, they included all municipalities, not just the town of Highlands. All municipalities had the opportunity to participate and end up having an updated plan, which the town of Highlands did, and Todd Atkinson and myself sat in on most of those meetings.
It makes a lot of sense to structure it this way. Again, you did have an individual plan some time ago. It's an intense process to put all that together on your own.
And costly.
Yes.
Okay, and Justin, I'm assuming that you would advise the town board to adopt this plan.
Yes, the plan update, yes, absolutely, and to continue your participation with the county.
All right, then I need a motion to move the resolution to authorize the acceptance and adoption of the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update for Orange County, New York.
Motion?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember Gonza?
Aye.
Councilmember Perry?
Aye.
Supervisor Lindsay?
Aye. And the last, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Highlands, as a participating jurisdiction adopts the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update for Orange County dated April. That's the date.
Yeah, they
didn't want a date?
They didn't give me the date.
All right.
This was their standard.
Okay, we adopted it, so that's all we need. Yes.
June, will you send this to the county? The supervisor has the email address for.
I can have it first though. Is that the same one we've been using or you updated it? Because I don't have it.
I didn't copy you today when I sent it.
I just checked, no.
You need to send it to Dominic Green.
Right, well, I need the
Yeah.
electronic version, so we're good.
Yep, I will email you tomorrow morning.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you...
Sorry, June, I don't know, I thought I hit, I don't know who I sent it to.
Okay, dial-a-bus, another homework project. Well, I don't even know if it's homework. Let me give you I talked to Goshen today. Not nice to say when throwing brothers under the bus, but this is a compliment. I got through to the Orange County Department of Planning, which there was a Carrie Scally, and then I forget the name of the guy that's ultimately in charge of the department. Yes.
Harrington, Rob.
Rob, yes, yeah. I'll talk to Colleen about this when I see her. She's out for a while, or she was in today. I don't know. Anyway, the bus is going to be delivered to our town garage, probably not until January of next year. We're going to store the new bus in the town garage and move the current dial-a-bus back in the back of the sewer plant. Hopefully, no snow. The question remains: are we keeping the old bus? The county will need to know after we get the new bus registered. Yeah, so this is homework for next year. But I talked to Rob, and we can do this two ways. We can adopt to register the bus, the new bus in our name. Well, we're going to register the old bus in the name of the town of Highlands, insure it, do the whole thing. Then it's our bus to do with as we please, including selling it. Okay? We can also leave it as it is right now. Is it registered to us, or does the county got a lien on it?
To us,
Okay.
yes.
Well, we can leave it the way it is now, and we can give it back to them anytime we want to give it back to them. My question with Rob was, let's say that we decide to keep the bus ourselves, and we're going to register it. Now, we can use it for anything excepting interfering with the regular route of the new bus.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So I said, well, what if I find out in April I haven't moved the bus? I have no use for it. Can I sell it? And that was no problem, as long as it's registered in our name.
Well, if you don't mind, when the last time it happened, well, 2 times ago, they actually sold it to the town for $1.
Mhm.
So once they sell it to us, it's ours to do
Yeah,
with as we
yeah.
see fit. So they no longer control it.
Okay.
So, yes. it's
And we
for
can
the
leave it the
towns.
way it is, and they control it at the same time. In other words, we want to park it there, and our new bus goes down, we got this to back it up and use it. But let me read the
Right.
kicker here. This is from Rick Jersey. I think I gave this to the board. But my professional opinion about keeping the old dial bus as a spare is not a good choice. If the bus doesn't get used regularly, rust will be a major issue on the exhaust, which will have to be replaced to accept excessive rust. Brake pads and rotors and calipers will also stick and get rusty and not hold pressure on the pads and the rotors, causing excessive heat and brake loss, brake lines, gas lines, possible gas tank issues. Electrical issues will start to become more common on the light sensors. The current gas that we use has a shelf life of a few months, and then it starts to go bad, which could cause the fuel pump and injectors to go bad. The current bus loses about a quart of oil every 900 miles. Since it was new, Ford said it isn't unusual. the cost of insurance and maintenance of a second bus that won't be used very much. The town kept an old bus once and sold it soon after. This is my professional opinion. You should rent a bus cheaper should there be a need for it.
Excuse me, who's this report coming from?
This is coming from Rick Jersey, our mechanic up at the town garage.
Yeah.
So I'll give you all the information, and we can make a decision again in January. If there's anything more you need to know, get a hold of Pat, ask Pat, and talk with Rick Jersey.
Yeah, so when do we have to decide to take the bus or not?
When we get the new one, which is January.
So this is this January, so January of next year, meaning this January in a month?
Yeah.
I just want, because you said next year, so I want to make sure.
Oh.
Thank you.
So, for the record, I just want to make sure I reiterate in front of the public that there was a request from seniors at one time in the recent in recent times that they would like to, if this opportunity came about, to recommend that the board get the bus, so therefore there be an opportunity for them to use it more versus rent these other buses that seem to be costly and less occupancy. So sometimes we've had the issue with a 55-pack bus and 10 people, where this seems to be more of a plan. So I understand Rich's opinion, but it seems to be based on a lot of assumptions that things are the same as they've always been. And I don't necessarily agree with that.
June, how many passengers? This is an 8 or 9 passenger bus?
12.
12. Oh, well, that's
Which
even
includes
better.
2 wheelchairs, though, I believe.
Okay, great.
But among the other considerations, we seem to not have an abundance of drivers. That's, we're not in the business of competing with West Point Tours. Would the seniors use this for free, or how would that be structured?
It depends on if we own it or if the county is still
So there's a
involved.
lot of discussion.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
If we own it, we can charge anything we want,
Right.
but it can't interfere with the regular county bus.
So my position is just to be clear that the seniors deserve some consideration, and I'm going to advocate for them, and that we get it. Whether we do that or not, it'd be a different issue that we got to cross that bridge, but I'm just putting it out there that I think it's worth an opportunity to explore.
Explore, that's a good word, because like I said, we can take it and make it a town bus, and if in April, and I don't know why I throw April out, but in April, we haven't used it but once. What are we doing with this thing?
Right.
And then we got an out. We have no problem getting out. Actually, we'll make a few bucks on it.
Okay.
All right? Okay? So do your homework, please. Please. Police. Any other business that I haven't gone into yet? No other business? Any other public comment? All good?
Nothing?
No, nothing, good.
I'm looking forward to hearing from. I know you put a letter in the paper today, or recently, correct?
All right, then this would be the time for me and the town board to say to the general public, happy holidays, safe holidays, enjoy the holidays with your family, and you won't see this town board again this year unless we have a problem.
We will, or they will not?
Will not.
They will not.
Unless we have a problem.
In other words, the next meeting is probably going to be January the
January, okay.
14th.
And you'll call a special meeting if needed?
Yeah, if
Otherwise,
needed.
it'll be January. Okay, good.
So do you have anything to say to the general public, Rich?
No, happy holidays.
That's it, that's all we want.
Good health.
Joe?
Happy holidays, everyone, be safe.
Hi.
Yeah, I echo that, safety and joy, and hope to see everyone in the new year.
It's been a pleasure. We're all just trying to do the best we can for the town. I hope that's appreciated. I appreciate trying.
Thank you very much. I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Bye.
Thank you.